back to the 4th and 30 podcast. Sorry I couldn't be with you guys last week. Life gets in the way sometimes, but Andre Muse did a hell of a job stepping in. That was nice to listen to. It was good to get some different perspective in there, and that dude obviously knows what he's talking about when it comes to basketball. Like he got pretty in depth with knowing players across the league and stuff. You can definitely tell he's involved. So that was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope I get to be around next time he wants to come back on. Might have him back on for football. I heard later in the year. And I do have a little congestion. Sorry about that in advance. But I'm back this week. We're ready to roll. We got some things for you. You know, basketball's still going on, but I do want to start in baseball because something is happening right now that A, doesn't happen very often, and B, happens even less if you don't include steroids. And that's Kyle Schwarber is going off. That dude, when he got moved to the leadoff spot, unreal. He's got 18 home runs in the month of June. That is the second most all-time in the National League ever in the month of June. And
what is second games-wise, though? Isn't it 18 in the last 20 games?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Which is even
it was 17 and 18 games, so I think it's 18 and 19 games, actually.
Yeah, it's under 20. Which he hasn't hit anything tonight yet. So they're getting into like the 7th or 8th inning. I'm on Schwarber watch. But ironically, the guy who holds the record for June was, I guess, a fellow Cubby, Sammy Sosa. So baseball is kind of poetic that way of, bite, But, I mean, that's an unprecedented run, and he hasn't been PED checked yet, and I don't want to start, he's not using PEDs, I don't suspect, but, he's got to be checked soon, right? I mean,
has to be.
You would think the way MLB's
they're
been
random.
recently.
Those are random drug tests.
He's gonna get random.
So you don't know if he will or you
July
don't know
1st.
if he won't.
You hit 18 in a month, you bet your ass that's random.
They're gonna let June in first and see where he gets, and then they're gonna randomly drug test him in July.
But it also, is it crazy that it coincided at the same time they stopped sticky stuff?
It is. It seems like headline after headline for baseball right now, trying to stay relevant.
Hitting has upticked since they dropped off the sticky.
Spin rate has just dropped off the map, too.
And guess which team dropped off the most?
The batting averages went up like 20 points, which I think is good for baseball, personally.
It is from a spectator's point of view. It definitely is. And it's cheating. I mean, the sticky stuff was cheating, so it shouldn't be in the game, But
Jacob deGrom, Kershaw will not be getting into the Hall of Fame now, just like the steroid guys, right?
Well,
it's a little bit different.
We'll see if they handle it different. I could see baseball voters being the exact same way.
But when those guys try to get to the Hall of Fame, like your 80-year-old baseball voters that have been keeping the steroid guys out will be gone. So,
yeah.
So two things this did, though, Kyle Schwarber going off, because the Nationals were 10 games out in the division, in what's turned out to be a bad division, surprisingly. They were 10 games out. Schwarber's been on a tear. Juan Soto's also been playing well. They're now just 3 games out in the division. So Schwarber was going to get traded, and a lot of contenders were going to be looking to get up. If they still do end up trading him, which I don't think they will since they're only 3 games out, if they still trade him, though, do you even want him on your team? Hasn't he already blown his load, so to speak? I don't know that he can do that again. And I don't know that
I'm sitting back trying to have a friendly conversation with you assholes, and you're going to slander Kyle Schwarber in front of me?
No, I'm not slandering him. I'm just saying the expectations are going to be way too high for what you're going to get, because there's no way.
This is about to get Carl's been joking about people choosing violence.
Before Cody goes off, okay, so if you're saying that the trade you're going to have to trade too much to get him now, I could see that. But if you're just saying that just because he went off in the last 20 games, he's not going to be able to play well the rest of the season, that's crazy. I mean, he's still going to be a good hitter. But if you're saying that they're going to be asking
a lot of
times,
I
can see what you're saying.
When MLB trade, people get their expectations up way too high when their team makes a trade at the trade deadline for one player. One player does not make your team that much better over 80 games.
But
so I
one
think-
player can win you a championship with the right trade at the deadline and getting to the finish line.
But this is
For 1
classic
year.
Kyle Schwarber. He doesn't do this for a whole year. This is what he does for
He
1
also
month out
he
of the
also
year.
hits
No,
he
no, no,
also
no,
hits
no,
him
no.
on
month
top
out
of
of
the
the year.
scoreboard at Wrigley in October. So
Okay.
And maybe
right.
you'll get that, but I don't think so. I don't think he's the best deal out there.
Okay. We're going to put all this to rest real quick. For those of you who don't know, there's not
a reason
bigger...
the Cubs traded him and got rid of
They
him.
didn't trade him. They just waived his option, and so he signed with the
Which is
Nationals because they were
worse.
going to have
There's-
to pay him.
And there was a reason for
And
that.
don't think I didn't cry myself to sleep for a week over it. Because for those who don't know, there is no bigger Kyle Schwarber fan on the planet than me. There may be some weirdo out there, but I man crush on him pretty hard.
weird.
Kyle Schwarber's mom might have something to say about that.
Yeah. But, all right, so let me get into this. Kyle Schwarber is an inconsistent player, is the reason he's not on the Cubs anymore. But his inconsistency does not come month to month. His inconsistency comes year to year. He has good years and bad years. For the 4 years he was with the Cubs, he had 2 years where his splits were unreal, good as a bat. And then he had 1 year he was hitting like 180 or something like that, which he was 1 year where he played 120 games or something. He batted like he was the lowest batting average in the NL of all eligible players, so excluding pitchers. But so Kyle Schwarber has good years and bad years. So if I'm a buyer, I'm buying on Kyle Schwarber for this year. And then with his contract, you don't have to. You can, it's a mutual player or it's a mutual option between both teams. So you don't even have to bring him back next year if you don't. If you want to go all out on him. But here's the thing: he is such a liability defensively. He's a liability, or not a liability in the sense he can play 3 different positions for you. He can play left field, first base, or catcher, which is a good thing to have on the bench in the postseason run.
Emergency catcher, maybe.
Emergency catcher. Well, I mean, that's what he came into the league as, but the Cubs had Contreras, so you're obviously not going to play him there. I think he's a perfect DH for an AL team. He's not a great bat, but he's having a hell of a year. I would say the rest of this year.
He's not a great bat, but he's having a hell of a year. What do you think DHs do?
I didn't mean not a great bat. He's not a great fielder. If you can have, he is the perfect fit to bat for you and not play in the field because he's a liability in the field. Now, when he lost all that weight a few years ago, it made him slightly better in the outfield. But his problem is curveballs and lefties. He gets the most. He gets the most curveballs thrown to him every
He hit a home
year.
run off the lefty last night or 2 nights ago.
But he's lights out against righties. He is.
So for the sake of Cody's argument here, because he said he was injured a couple years when he's had 200 at bats. Here's his batting averages: 246, 211, 238, 250, and 253.
But his on base
250 is league
percentage
average. 250 is better than league average now.
His on base percentage is
So
above
2 years
300
he
though.
was barely above.
But
he has hit home runs. I mean, 30, 26, 38, and then 25 this year. He's a power hitter, but
it's a credit to Kyle Schwarber, like you said. He came into the league and was good, and then he went through a really bad slump. A lot of guys don't come back from that. Schwarber has, so credit to him.
And
I didn't bring that up
horrific
because I don't.
ACL injury.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up because I don't like the guy. He's a real likable guy. I think everybody likes him. I would just, if I was a GM, and there's probably a reason why I'm not a GM, but I mean, we probably don't even have to worry about it because the Nationals probably aren't selling now, being only 3 games out. But if they were, I would caution myself from trading for him because I think he's already reached that plateau.
We know why Kyler's not a football GM. It's because of how he ranks quarterbacks.
I mean,
I went through my quarterback list again the other day, and I see nothing wrong with it.
I'm not a GM because Coach wouldn't play me, so I couldn't get any shine. But
Same.
No, I do want to talk about one more thing in baseball though before we move on, just because this is something that we literally cannot talk about enough. Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player that like this season he's putting together is the best season by a baseball player ever in the history of baseball, and baseball is the most documented sport we have here in the United States. So this season, Ohtani starting tonight, he's 3-1 with a 2.58 ERA, 118 WHIP, 82 Ks in 59 and a third innings. He also leads the MLB in home runs at 28 and extra base hits at 49, is second in total bases and third in OPS.
Yeah,
those two stats don't go together.
That's relatively cray.
And there have been
Just
2,523 instances in the MLB of having a 25 homer season. Of the previous 2,522 of those, there's a combined 41 strikeouts. Ohtani has 82 this season. This is what he's done in one season. This is the history going way back. And then if you want to go even further, he'll become the 5th player all time to hit 2+ home runs in a game and then start the team's next game on the mound. To name you the other 4, one of them you might guess is Babe Ruth. The other 3 guys played in the 80s. Not the 1980s, the 1880s. John Clarkson, Bob Carruthers, and Monty Ward. It is dumb. What he's doing is dumb. Can't be replicated. People want to say Ruth was this pitcher and hitter. Look at Ruth's pitching numbers. He wasn't really a pitcher. It was just he was an athlete at the time, so they put him out there on the rubber. Like that's just what it was.
A different time.
But so it brings up the discussion. Did we all play baseball at least a little bit growing up?
I was on the team.
Yeah, so
550 batting average.
We all saw usually the best in high school, little league. When you have the best, your best player is usually your best hitter and probably your pitcher, right? Is that fair? Have you guys seen that before in little league?
Pitcher or shortstop?
I know I saw.
Yeah, in little league, yeah.
Yeah, or you're playing shortstop when you can't pitch because you're out of innings. Then you go to pitcher, but you're usually the best hitter too.
Yeah.
But so what happens as you move through high school and college and the minors, they stop letting you, here in the United States, they stop letting you do both. It's oh, you have to be a pitcher now, or you don't get to throw any more pitches. Whereas he grew up in Japan where they didn't have those stern rules on that stuff. So he got to explore both and be good at both. Can you think of maybe anybody athletic that could have done that if given the chance, like a DeGrom or a Madison Bumgarner, who are both good hitters in their own right, but we just didn't give guys a chance to do that. So I think
Hampton.
For anybody to come up like this, you're going to have to come from overseas to do it because the culture of baseball in America just doesn't necessitate, if that's a word, that.
Yeah.
So here's the crazy thing about Ohtani. During the first round of All-Star voting, he's not even leading his position in the All-Star voting. And that's a little bit disrespectful.
Because which position are they voting him for?
He made it into the second round as a DH. Now, obviously, pitchers don't get voted in. Pitchers are chosen after the positional players, but we need to get Ohtani in the All-Star game.
Oh,
it should be called the Ohtani game. That's what he's doing right now.
How sick would that be if he came out and hit 2 bombs and then went in as a relief pitcher? Came in the 6th through an inning,
Then hit another bomb.
And then was double subbed, position subbed back out to left field or something. But Carl, I think you're exactly right with the United States culture or maybe even just the Western culture of not letting pitchers play positions and position players pitch, yada yada yada. You guys mentioned a few guys. I think and the only reason I know this is because I just watched a little docuseries on Zach Greinke. And Zach Greinke almost retired from baseball because the Astros or the Royals, one of the two, wouldn't let him do both. And he was like, well, if you're not going to let me do both, if you're not going to let me hit and pitch, then I'm just going to retire because that's what I want to do. But he's one guy. I don't know about home run power, but he's a good contact hitter.
He's got some home runs in his pocket.
He's he won, and Zach Greinke's a weird guy. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't like to socialize with people. And so I'm sure how he handled it with the
Royals.
the office, whichever team it was, I don't remember. Probably wasn't the best. But one time in high school, or college, he was in a home run derby, took the lead hitting right-handed, switched left-handed, hit another home run, and then just quit. So that shows you how good of a hitter he is and how weird of a dude he is. But I'd say, obviously, with the athletes that America produces, you're going to have a few guys that probably could have done both if they were allowed to do both. But like Carl said, you're not allowed to do both.
I assume, and I'm not saying that pitchers can't hit, but the reason why is because they want you to focus, obviously, on pitching if you're a pitcher.
But
I
if
would
you're a good
assume
enough athlete, you don't have to, I guess.
right, and that's true. I mean, there's exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, it's probably good that they tell most pitchers to quit trying to hit and worry about pitching. If you're going to be a pitcher, I mean, and most people aren't going to be Otani and be able to go play right field one day and then go pitch the next day.
And so
he's
here's the thing
he's
about,
also on pace to break Mike Trout's record of Angels home runs before the All-Star break too.
yeah.
So the best player in baseball right now is about to pass the best player in baseball right now. So
And the thing about Otani that is also fun is he's a Japanese import, which is cool in my book. You know, maybe not everyone likes that, but that's cool to me. He's 6'4", built like a middle linebacker, handsome dude, and he just goes out there and he just throws the ball past people, guns people out when he's pitching, guns people out from left field when he's playing in the field, and just smacks nukes night after night. I mean, there's nothing to not like about Otani, unless you just don't like the Angels. So you're a whatever fan, whoever the Angels are rivals with, Mariners, I don't know.
Athletics, maybe Mariners.
Yeah, yeah.
But if Otani keeps on this pace and the Angels keep pissing it away and they don't let him go somewhere to be good and win a ring, do we just burn down Anaheim? Like, I mean,
Angels in the outfield is the only thing. Angels in the outfield is the only thing that organization's ever done.
Burning down cities.
No, we do not.
Anaheim. Anyway, speaking of the West Coast, we got a good Lord, a Western Conference Finals game tonight. Suns and Clippers are playing. Last game was kind of a stinker. If I guess people out here where I live probably didn't think of a stinker. They probably thought it was the greatest game ever, Big Ten basketball. But what were some of your guys' thoughts coming out of Game 5 there in the Western Conference Finals? If any,
somebody want to make a shot?
Yeah, that's my thing is like I've said this 1,000 times. I think we're all Chris Paul fans. Does anybody in here not like Chris Paul? I think we all like Chris Paul. We all want to see Chris Paul win. But is Chris Paul cursed? You know, he was on the Clippers or the Rockets team that blew the Clippers team. No, the Rockets team that blew the 3-1 lead to the Warriors.
I'm going to stat check myself. I was thinking of Game 4. Game 5 wasn't that bad a game. 116-102 Clippers. Game 4 was the 84-80 Phoenix. I just stat checked myself.
Yeah, well, you had me fooled. So I'm just, I'm rooting for Chris Paul. I'd also like to see Paul George do it. I don't really care who comes out of that. Either team's fine with me. We're getting to see a streak broke either way. Either the Suns since 93 or the Clippers since forever. But I really want to see Chris Paul win, but it's 3-2 now. They should be back in LA tonight, right?
Yep.
Yeah. LA tonight.
Game 6. Yep.
Make it 3-3 maybe tonight, and then is that Saturday night or Friday night? You never know.
Friday.
Game 7s. I always say Game 7s are just, it's a crapshoot. It's almost a flip of a coin. I know the home team wins more than they lose, but anything can happen Game 7.
I mean, we have a series for sure, and I don't know which way to lean with it. I do hope Chris Paul wins it, but the Clippers just seem to get better as series goes on, and that kind of scares me for the Suns. Not that the Suns have given me any reason to really doubt them. I'm just starting to become higher and higher on the Clippers, even without Kawhi. They've just Reggie Jackson. I mean, Kawhi not being in the game has allowed a lot of their other players to get the ball when they normally wouldn't, and they're showing off the talent that they have. And you know, may I wouldn't say you don't hope Kawhi comes back, but if Kawhi does end up coming back, Ty Lue's a smart enough head coach that share the love. I mean, this team is pretty stacked. It's looking pretty stacked right now.
So I
A lot of
posed this
talent.
question earlier before we started this episode, Kyler, and you weren't in here yet. Um, Kawhi comes back. Do you run your offense through Paul George and let Kawhi be the supporting cast? Since Paul George obviously isn't capable of being the supporting cast for Kawhi, he played terrible when he was the number two. You try and run it through Paul George and have Kawhi be the number two?
I don't think so. I think you just stick to what you've been doing. Well, maybe. I think you just stick to what you've been doing, what's made you successful in this series. Maybe Kawhi comes back and he plays off the ball more than he has. Kawhi's still going to be used. He's still going to get the
Yeah,
ball.
Kawhi's
But
still Kawhi. He's going to get buckets, whether you run it through him or not. He's too good to not get buckets. But
when Kawhi's out there, it feels like everybody else kind of tends to be more passive to him. I think that the main thing is all those guys just need to keep being aggressive and they won't have any, you won't lose anything. As long as Reggie Jackson stays aggressive, Man keeps shooting, Paul George keeps playing aggressive like he is, I don't see why that would inhibit them at all.
one thing that makes me a little nervous is I wouldn't say I'm a fan of Boogie, but I feel like Boogie has gotten the short end of the stick through his career. It doesn't feel like he's got a fair shake. Everywhere he goes, he seems to play fairly well, and then he just doesn't play, doesn't start. And so here's the thing: he comes in the other night. I know I was messaging our group chat about he had 11 points in 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it was. Had a big impact on the game. Plays last game too with Zubac out. Has a good game. And then today he's quoted on ESPN as saying, I don't know why I don't play. It doesn't make any sense to me. I've been good my whole career, but yet I just keep getting DNPs all the time. So I'm just hoping that that doesn't mess up their chemistry, that Boogie's not throwing a fit. And, because if that's the case, if he's in there making a stink in the locker room and they end up losing the series, they're letting him go. If he causes rift and then they lose a game or two later, then he's gone. And that's another squandered opportunity. But he has a point. Why isn't he playing more?
Yeah. I mean, think about when he was in New Orleans before he got injured. New Orleans with him and Anthony Davis were doing great. And then he got injured and they fell apart. Like, I mean, he's been successful pretty much everywhere he's went, but he's gotten the short end of stick pretty much everywhere he's went.
And
he does get hurt a lot, though.
Yeah.
To be fair, that has derailed quite a few of his seasons.
And I know he talks a lot of shit and gets in people's faces on the court and kind of acts a fool sometimes. Like you see, it's not uncommon for the NBA. But I don't know why he's not liked by more people. He doesn't seem like a bad guy at all. I mean, he tries to win. He took a veteran minimum to play wherever that was last year. It was the Lakers for a while.
LA.
Yeah, he played
for the Lakers for a while. On a veteran minimum, just trying to get tick in the NBA. So I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't cause them to collapse.
I don't question Ty Lue with his track record, and I think part of it is Boogie really doesn't have any foot speed. And if you look at the Jazz series, they won that.
Zubac.
They won that series. Yeah, but Zubac does more of the dirty work. He's not a scorer like Boogie Cousins. Boogie Cousins wants to score the ball. Zubac's just out there setting screens, getting rebounds. Boogie ain't. Boogie will get you some rebounds, but not like Zubac. So it's more of filling a role. They have enough talent there, playing through their guards, and maybe he just doesn't fit in very well because he's not what he used to be, and it sucks for guys like Boogie Cousins who, used to one of the greatest players at Kentucky, super talented, but as you get into your later stages of your career, with all the injuries he's dealt with, it's just hard because he's a guy you want to go through. You want to work the ball through. And at this stage of the playoffs, they just can't make that change. And so I don't really know where Boogie fits in on this team.
If the Clippers pull it off, does that propel Ty Lue's career to where he can basically have any pick of any NBA franchise he wants to coach?
Pretty
Uh,
much.
Besides, like if you have a Popovich or something, he's 10-2 in elimination games in his career. That's crazy.
I
That's
mean,
impressive.
I think that puts him up there. I think he's as good as coach as there is in the NBA right now. Barring the team already having somebody down in contract, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but when Doc Rivers left, he's like Ty Lue is right there. It's going to be the same thing as it was. Well, obviously not, because they made the Western Conference Finals, and Doc Rivers still didn't make the finals because he freaking lost to the Hawks in the second round. So, there's got to be something that said he's got to be able to manage those egos better. There's got to be something that he does better than some other people in the league. Just has to.
I like Doc Rivers. I think he's a great coach, but he's this year kind of exposed him a little bit.
He has a terrible playoff history besides
yeah.
one with the Celtics in 2008 or whatever.
He's blown 2 3-1 leads now, which is there's only other coaches have won under their record because there's only been 10 or whatever in the NBA. And then he lost in LA when they were clearing away the favorites for a lot of those years, other than maybe when Golden State got good. And then this year, granted, I think the Sixers maybe played a little better than they actually were, but they were talent-wise, they're better than the Hawks. They got Trae Young and they got outcoached. Like, that's all there was to it. And so he's kind of getting a little backlash from that now. But you can't let him go if you're the Sixers. You were the 1 seed. You made the playoffs. And Ben Simmons crapped a brick in the playoffs, so that can be chalked up for part of the problem too. But I don't know.
Yeah, I just think Ty Lue, if the Clippers have a long road to hoe, they got to win 2 against a pretty damn good Phoenix team. So, but if they do it, you got to give them some credit. I mean, Kawhi goes down. Nobody gave the Clippers really a fighting chance, and here they are,
And I wonder how many teams...
Mexico, Missouri.
Yep, shouts out Mexico. I wonder how many teams passed on Ty Lue as a head coach before he got the assistant coach job in LA, because he had to at least interview for a couple somewhere, and they passed on him, thinking that
Ty Lue's a smart guy. He probably
yeah.
had offers from teams that he didn't want to coach.
Hey,
The right opportunity wasn't available.
Why don't you ask him?
I'll call him.
He's welcome on the podcast. Ty Lue,
Yeah,
if you're watching, come on.
love to have you on.
But we're gonna
That
move
being
east.
said- That being said, Suns finished the series tonight.
Okay. We're gonna move east a couple thousand miles and go to Milwaukee and Atlanta. Atlanta, the little engine that could, just keeps hanging around. What are some of your guys' thoughts about this kind of injury plague series they've got going on out here east?
Well, it sucks that the series we're seeing right now, I think Trae will be back. I think Trae will give it a go next game, but we've essentially seen 2 games without the 2 best players now. And that sucks. Nobody wants to watch that. The game was a little rough for a little while, then Atlanta kind of got hot and it wasn't so bad, but Giannis is likely out for game 6. Is that 5? Game 5. He's likely out, so we're not going to see Giannis. We may see Trae. The Hawks may say, okay, well, it's a 2-2 series. We can sit Trae another game, let him get healthy. If we lose it, so what? We still got to win 2. I don't know how they'll approach it. But like I said, it sucks that there's been injuries, but Atlanta, despite Trae getting hurt and the bad luck that was, they got a little bit of luck in the form of Giannis getting hurt, which nobody wants to see. Nobody wishes injuries on any team. But Atlanta's got a good shot. 2-2 series, and Trae Young is closer to coming back than Giannis is, I would say. So they've got a good shot.
They just proved that their reserves and their other starters without Trae Young can beat Milwaukee.
And last week with Dre, I said, I think that Atlanta's problem is they have too many good players and they're missing one great player. Well, it proved fruitful for them last night in that Trae was out, but they had enough guys to fill that role.
Bogdanovich played better than he's played all playoffs.
Yeah.
Ilyasova played better than he's played all playoffs. They just had guys stepping up.
Yep.
last night.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, what are you gonna say?
No, that Heater's also playing lights out ball too.
Yep.
He is playing. So we talked about last series. The Bucks pretty much had to win that series because the Nets were down and we didn't know where they were going to go from here. And I feel like it's like deja vu. Like they were up 2-1, the Hawks' best players out, and the Bucks didn't even look like they were ready to play. Giannis didn't look like he was ready to play. I don't know if it's, and everyone on the Hawks looked like they were ready for that game. Every single player. I don't know if it's they're getting out coached. I don't know if it's the Bucks. I don't even know what it is at this point, but I feel like it's just the same thing over again. The Bucks they had to win that, like they had to put the series away, and then they just let the Hawks right back.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The Bucks played like, oh, we're going to cruise through this. Trey's out. They don't stand a chance. And they showed Nate McMillan in the locker room before the game, and he was saying, hey, we miss Trey. We wish Trey was out there, but we're going to play like Trey, like we don't need him out there. We're going to play our hardest. And that's they did. They outplayed the Bucks.
Yeah, on the Eastern Conference, I mean, it kind of sucks for the NBA that Giannis is out, Trey Young's out. Probably lose some ratings over that. And you were talking about the role players played awesome last game. That's the thing about these role players. They could also lay an egg tonight. And honestly,
Tomorrow night.
I feel like the winner out of the, unless Giannis comes back, the winner out of the West is going to win the finals. Now, I could be wrong because we have no idea. Nobody's been able to predict this tournament, and a lot of unexpected things have happened. So
Everyone's picked against the Hawks every round.
yeah, and
Except you.
I don't know. There's a lot of unknown, which intrigues you to watch the NBA because typically you know who's going to make the finals or you have a good chance, good shot. But I think we were kind of spoiled with the finals, the Cavs Warriors showdowns. The NBA goes in kind of lulls like this. I'm not as excited to watch it as in years past, but who knows?
Well, your favorite
No.
player's not in it.
I like watching the playoffs a lot more when you don't know who's going to win. I'm just saying the playoffs have been a lot better.
But when the
this year
star
than they've been the last
players
5
are
years.
hurt, you lose motivation to watch.
I agree with that,
game.
but not knowing who's going to win has been much better.
I mean, let's say everybody's completely healthy. We all know where that goes. It's a Lakers Nets final. But, is that as fun as,
The finals is yes.
Yeah, but like,
The road
Giannis
to the
Giannis gets
final.
over that hump and then, there's no more questioning him. Or Paul George gets over that hump, there's no more questioning him. Chris Paul gets over that hump, there's no more. So like you almost need it. You need these break years every once in a while in between dynasties, and Golden State could come back, but you need these break years every once in a while for another player to get his shine, so that way they don't get Charles Barkley when they get retired.
Karl
Well,
Malone.
we
I
saw
think
we all got to witness the moment where LeBron got over the hump and beat the Pistons that year, which he had a little lull after that, and that was kind of the passing of the torch into the LeBron era. And we've mentioned passing of the torches on here a lot, and now we're kind of seeing. You look at these guys. Trey Young is 22, 23. D-Book is 24. A lot of these young guys are carrying their team to the playoffs, and we're seeing some of these younger guys have their moment. And so maybe, obviously the years of the Cavs Warriors finals are over with LeBron in the West now, but maybe we'll get a few years now of who knows who's going to win. Kind of the breakup of the super teams helped a lot with the people going to more of a duo instead of a super team. I think
Yeah,
that
but you
helped.
still got one if they get healthy. The Nets next year kind of.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
that's.
still got the Nets.
I think you're always going to have one version of them, but like, yeah, the Warriors went and signed Durant, but a lot of that was homegrown too. They just added Durant. So
Yeah, the Warriors were good before Durant. That was everybody's problem with Durant going there, is the Warriors were already a dynasty. I don't know about dynasty. They were already a top-tier team.
But with Steph and Clay and Wiseman and Wiggins and, if they want to trade some pieces around, they're good next year. And, this is a different conversation when they're healthy.
They have the number
Chris
7
Paul-
pick and the number 14 pick this year too, or
Chris
something
Paul
like that.
needs to go get it this year.
Mm-hmm. Because that window is closing.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Trae
Well,
Young
that
needs to
ref.
go get it this year.
Yeah. No. He's got 15 years left in the league.
Yeah, I
He's
want to see him
fine.
get eight or so though. So I mean, he's got to start early.
Oh, are you going to trade your fandom? How many wins would Trae Young have to have for you to be a Trae Young guy, not a Kobe guy? How many?
Oh, it'll
How
never
many?
happen.
How many?
There will
Put a number
never
out there,
be
Kelsey.
anybody
Put
that
a number out
changes
there.
from Kobe
10?
Put a
to
number.
anybody. The best
Put a
Robin
number
of
out
all
there.
time and the best Batman of all time, according to you guys.
I don't think anybody said he was the best Batman of all time.
Yeah, so
Say
you
it's the
guys
best
missed it.
Robin, and it's easy that it's the best Batman.
was
You
the
guys
best
missed a
Robin.
riveting conversation in the group chat this week. We got on a Batman versus Robin kick, and Kelsey thought he was going to troll us and say, LeBron was a Robin to D Wade, which I'll give him 2011 in the
LeBron
finals.
wasn't a Robin; he was a Batgirl.
Okay, you want to
D-Wade
say
and
Batgirl,
Bosh.
and
D-Wade
then
and Bosh.
I hit Homeboy down there with 2000 NBA Finals stats, and if you guys want to hear them, we can. Shaq averaged 38. Kobe averaged 16 and Glenn Rice averaged 12 in the finals that year. So Kobe was a lot closer to bystander number 1 in a Batman credit than he was Robin in 2000's NBA finals.
Hold on.
He got that ring though.
Yeah, he got a ring.
Don't worry. LeBron didn't get a ring this year.
Oh, we got him all riled up now, boys.
Mhm.
D Wade averaged against the Mavericks. D Wade averaged where's point? Oh, D Wade scored.
I'm willing to
159 points in
concede the
playoffs.
Mavericks.
Bosh scored 111. LeBron scored 107. He was the third leading scorer on the Heat that year.
And
But
Yeah,
why
but
do you
how much
think
closer
they
was
lost?
he to Wade than Glenn Rice was to?
And
But he
why
was
do you
already
think
third.
they lost?
You were already 2 ahead of you
Okay,
because
and
LeBron shied in the corner.
here's one. How many times has LeBron not led his team in points in the playoffs?
In the finals,
Once.
that's all.
No, in the
that's
entire
all we need.
playoffs.
Well, did he lead them this year? I don't think so.
Once. One time. Unless this year. I could stand corrected this year. I don't know.
I don't
Why?
think I don't
No,
think
he led
this
them this year. AD only played 2 games. He led
Yeah,
their
you'd
team
have-
in points.
You'd have
Oh,
to
yeah.
question the bubble. but
points per game is what I was saying, but
yeah, 2011 with the Mavericks was.
Yeah, the only year he didn't. We won't bring it up on podcast, but I'll let you just Google how many times Kobe didn't lead his team in points. It was more than one.
Probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
He played with
Just
Shaq,
one.
though. I mean, if LeBron came in the league and played with Shaq, he wouldn't lead his team in
LeBron
scoring
did
either.
play with Shaq.
No,
It's just old
that was
Shaq.
not Shaq. That was not Shaq.
Okay.
His
but-
name was Shaquille O'Neal,
He
damn
was
it.
outscored by Wade and Bosh.
Yes, he wouldn't, but he also would have had 3 rings right off the bat to start his career.
First of all, I was trolling to start this argument.
I
You
just
guys
had to
bring it up
throw
on the
that in there.
podcast, so I had to throw in there that LeBron was third in the NBA Finals in 2011. His first ever. No, wait, his second loss in the NBA Finals. He was third.
And
in
I will
scoring.
always say that should be, if you're gonna demerit LeBron, 2011 is it. You can throw all the punches you want at him for 2011. That was his fault and his fault alone. But you can't hold the Warriors series against him.
The Warriors were. I mean, that's a different thing.
He was the best player in the universe in those series. And just
I agree. I've changed my stance a lot on LeBron.
And in
Move on.
2011
Should we move on?
and in
Should we-
2011 he was 5th best player, maybe, on the court. Maybe. J Kidd, Dirk, Bosh, Wade.
Very good. You're not going to put the Jet up there, too?
Oh, the Jet was good. The Jet was good.
And
He was
JJ
good in that
Barea had a
series.
great
JJ
series,
Barea
great
was on
playoffs,
another
too.
planet.
JJ Barea was out there dominating people in that playoff.
And that was the same year
dominated the
that
Lakers
was the
bad.
same year that Andrew Bynum almost killed him, right? In
Yep.
a series or two before that.
Yep, it was in the second round. The Lakers got destroyed by them that year. It was terrible.
All right. Does anybody have a fun little topic to cast us off into the sunset
What
here?
were we talking about in group chat yesterday? where I said hold your thoughts for the podcast? Anybody remember?
Something to do with the Bucks. I thought you removed the messages, so I can't go back and look.
Nuck if you buck. Huh?
We were talking about Trey Young being hurt, the Nets being hurt, and so the Nets being or the Bucks being very fortunate with the path that they had. But that was before
Yeah.
Giannis got hurt.
Yeah, that was right before Giannis got hurt. Sure
So
was.
say the Bucks do make the finals. I was saying a couple podcasts ago that if the Bucks don't do anything this year, it's time to blow that team up and maybe Giannis leaves. If the Bucks make the finals, it might be a bad thing for them because they keep the band together and it's not a championship caliber team.
So we kind of talked about this in the group chat. Every championship team's gotten a little bit lucky, and I would say that the last couple of years, and I'm not saying the Bucks have been a championship team, but I think they've been in the mix. I think they've been a very, very, very good team. So to say to keep that team together would be a bad thing. I don't agree with that necessarily. I do think there's teams that are a little bit better. They might need to add a little bit, but I don't think keeping that team together is a horrible idea. I think they're a good team. They might need to add a little bit something to it. I don't know.
Carl, go ahead and state your opinion because I'm going to we're headed this path. I'm going to take us just a little bit off to the right.
No, I mean you're good. It takes luck to do anything, man. Like you gotta go out there and play your best, but at the same time, like Kawhi with that 7 bounce shot against the Sixers for the years the Raptors won it. That could have went any different direction, but it went in. So you've got to get lucky sometimes like that. You've got to kind of get lucky if Chris Paul is out with COVID or anything like that, and Clippers didn't capitalize on it. But you've got to get lucky sometimes. So yeah, there's some luck involved, but it's not. You still have to be a great team, and to be a great team and win the championship, you can't just keep doing the same things all the time and hoping for different results. Eventually, something has to change. So
Even one of the greatest football teams ever had to get lucky. Jimmy Garoppolo had to overthrow that throw for us to get back and get the ball back and win the game. I mean, everybody gets lucky.
well, Marcus
Well,
Mariota had to pick himself off to
I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
spark
as
the
much
fire to.
if that's as much luck as just the 49ers didn't have a quarterback, but
Yeah, you're
I
right.
get what you're saying.
okay, so back to the topic we were talking about is you brought this up earlier, Kels, and then was all in your feelings about something, I don't know, but you asked about winning championships as a relation to success, or if that's, I don't remember exactly how you worded it. Do you remember how you did? Is that close or?
It was a meme or a tweet or something that said something about we're in an era where the only way you judge success is by winning championships.
Yes.
Like there's no
Yes.
other way to judge
Yeah.
success.
And I have stood by this since as long as I can remember, as I don't agree with that one bit. It's one reason I think Dame should stay in Portland. It's one reason I don't hold any finals losses against LeBron. It's one reason why I use it as the argument as if you're going to hold finals losses against LeBron, you've got to hold the pre-finals losses against MJ, even though MJ's teams were outmatched back then. He was on the worst team of those two. So only one team wins the championship. You can't base a player's success on if their team wins the championship. Whether their team's good or bad, yes. But winning a championship, only one team does. So, Dame not winning a championship does not mean Dame is not an all-time great player. LeBron being 4-6 in the finals does not mean that LeBron's not an all-time great player. Kobe out there with Smush Parker and Kwame Brown losing in the first and second round does not mean Kobe didn't have what it took to win a championship. It's only one team does it.
You forgot about Sasha Vujacic.
Sasha Vujacic
But
out
carry
there,
on.
6'9", long hair, just out there stroking threes, dude. So no, players should not be judged on their championships. Win-loss, team win-loss, maybe more so than championships, but I think we lost Carl.
You just lost my
Your headset.
my audio.
So I agree with you to an extent. I mean, I think that we do emphasize championships a little bit too much. It's a complete failure if you don't win a championship. In the eyes of the person who did not win the championship, I agree. They should say, "Man, we didn't get our job done this year. We were," but teams can still have good seasons without winning championships.
Yeah, you
I
can't
don't,
say the Bucks haven't been a successful franchise. I mean,
yeah, I
they
mean,
haven't won a championship, but they've been a top tier team in the NBA for 5 years now, or however long it's been, 4 years now.
I can see both sides of it though, because when Alex Smith was in Kansas City and the Chiefs hadn't won a Super Bowl, we were growing restless in Kansas City. I mean, I was as big a Alex Smith fan as there is, but you still want to get over that hump. You still feel like every year's a failure.
I wasn't really that restless because we weren't going 2-14 anymore. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty happy.
Yeah.
Got to find a middle ground.
4 and
Yeah.
12, 2 and 14, 4 and 12. That was rough times.
Yeah. Thick and thin. We beat Green Bay that year. We went 2-14 though. So
I can tell you,
Perfect season.
if Trey Young brings a championship to Atlanta, that guy's going to be the most beloved athlete in Atlanta sports history.
He'll have a statue.
Atlanta is cursed.
He will
Atlanta
have a
has a curse.
statue next month, the start of next season. He will have a statue outside of whatever their arena's called if they win it this
but
year.
how Atlanta is that if Atlanta's season goes down the tubes because he stepped on a ref's foot? How Atlanta would that be?
That's perfect Atlanta.
Be right up there
That's
with
Atlanta.
the Falcons.
It's like the
blowing
in-
lead against 28
It'd be just
3.
like the infield fly rule against the Cardinals. That was
Damn right it is.
all because the Cardinals left fielder couldn't catch a fly ball. The ump had to call an infield fly.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, like we've said.
All
I'm
right.
still
Well, I think that's going to
salty
end
about
us.
that one.
I think that's going to end us for this week. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I don't know what we're going to have you do this week. Just, like and subscribe like we ask you guys to do all the time. We're trying to get more YouTube subscribers so we can get that channel going. Comment back, tell us topics, do whatever you want. Like we're open to listen. A lot of you have our Snapchats. We just used Nick Maddox in the last one. We used his Snapchat question he sent us. So we're not afraid to use your guys' topics. Go ahead and send them. We'll talk about them. So
And please,
until next
please,
time.
please tell your grandmas. We don't have enough grandmas subscribed to the channel. We need more grandmas. Tell your grandma.
We would like grandmas. I mean, grandmas, they can comment too. Just like, what do you think LeBron's favorite cookie is? And we'd be like, I don't know. Maybe macadamia nut. He's rich. I don't know. But yeah, so please tell your grandma. We're non-discriminatory here. We like old sports fans just like young sports fans. They're young at heart, man. They still cheer for the same team. So until then, be good out there. Make sure to tell your grandma, and see you next time.